welcome to another episode of 406 Tech Talk, where today we're going to be talking about technology integration. It's our job, and we don't even really know what it is.
What a concept.
What is it?
What is it
Integrating
exactly?
technology. What is it?
Technology integration means making the technology a part of the lesson so that it just flows with the lesson. It's just another method or tool that we use to present the information that we have.
Okay, when you integrate technology, it increases students' ability to learn the information you're trying to present.
Not for every subject. It's for writing, math, and reading. It used to be just reading groups. Now I'm having writing groups, I'm having math groups. Because my technology is helping me see where there's holes and I can fill them in.
Where you use the technology as a tool to increase student achievement.
Technology integration to me means that you are using technology in any possible way and it's not noticeable.
It is finding alternative ways to diversify your education, making sure you're meeting the needs of all the kids in your classroom, and adding other ways of teaching the same topics that you would normally teach.
Think of it as tools to make teaching more productive and easier.
In order to talk about what is technology integration, it's good to talk about what it is, but also what it is not. So let's maybe define what technology integration is first, don't you think?
Great idea.
Okay. What do you think technology integration is?
Well, the best way I can describe it is it's like a cupcake. And I'm going to steal some teachers I worked with. I had them create a Google drawing about what is technology integration, and they had to use the parts of a cupcake. And the lesson or the content is the actual cupcake.
Delicious.
And the frosting might just be the technology that's used to give the whatever it is, and the integration is kind of like the sprinkles. So if technology is used effectively, it's not the whole cupcake, or it's not just the frosting. You have to have all the parts, with the most essential being the content or the cake of the cupcake, where you don't have a cupcake, you have frosting.
I think a great, just build off of that, is that, integration can't replace, quality teaching, right?
Right.
It enhances
Pedagogy,
already
still
quality
pedagogy.
education. So.
And I am here to tell you that you can ruin a perfectly good cupcake with too many sprinkles.
Exactly.
I've done
Really?
it.
Wow.
Or too much frosting. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The frosting to cupcake
So
ratio.
that is actually a great analogy, because a cupcake is just fine by itself, but then it's a muffin.
Well, and when you talk about the cupcake going together, the technology is what you think about last. You think about the core or the cake part, and then you think about the toppings of the cupcake. So thinking of it as the most important part of the piece is the content.
Yep, and I also love that analogy because of all of the different ingredients that go into the preparation of the cupcake, and then the baking of it, to let that cook a little bit. That might be all you serve.
Right.
And years ago, that was all we served. And so this icing and the sprinkles and all of the other decorations are things that we've added recently that enhance cupcakes.
And even if you're missing a key ingredient, as much frosting as you put on, it's still not gonna work well. So great analogy.
Like flour is
Yeah.
what the teachers
Exactly.
I were working with. Like you have to have some sort of flour substance, which has to be, they set objectives. So if you don't have the objectives, you don't have the flour in the cupcake. So.
We've seen a lot of really outstanding examples of people really effectively integrating technology. And I think the ones where it's the most effective are the ones where you hardly even notice that it's happening.
Right.
It just weaves in and out of the day, just like you would take out your pencils or your folders. And you got to see some really good use of that this morning.
Yeah, I've been lucky to be invited to help Kim Busch work with her students using Google Earth. And Kim has been a really long time fan of the Iditarod race, but she was looking to kind of enhance and add a little frosting to her cupcake of a lesson with the Iditarod, and so invited me in to help with Google Earth. And they just took over. It was great, using the GPS tracking that they have through the Iditarod race and plotting those points, and then again just looking at how that looked on just the whiteboard, right? Looking at scale and distance and all those things, and the kids didn't always realize that they were actually integrating those skills right into the lesson about thinking of distance and what happens when you zoom in and out. How does the scale change? So
Cool.
yeah, it's been really
I heard
fun.
an interview with one of the kids, and he was saying how it was science what he was doing, but it was also math. And he kind of, as he was talking, he had that aha moment like, we were learning! Darn it! And I think it means extra to the students, too, going back to that cupcake part, because Kim is very passionate about it. She's actually gone to Alaska and taken part and watched the Iditarod and stuff. And so when the kids get to see the teacher be that passionate about something, they automatically have that buy-in. You don't necessarily need the technology to make the lesson better, but it worked because it was able then to bring it to them.
And she had said, in explaining it, that it could be any lesson. She said it didn't have to center around the Iditarod, but that it just worked well to tie in all these other core ideas and concepts and standards. They just fit really well into the topic. So she said, it doesn't have to be this, but I know a lot about it, and we can work a lot of lessons.
I think that's key. If you're going to take the step to integrate technology, it has to be content that you're familiar with, so that you always have a backup plan and you can keep that objective or that content the forefront. So she made a good choice.
And I just thought of something. If it's in Alaska, wouldn't it be icing on the cupcake, not frosting?
It's been a little warm. They've had trouble finding us. Yes.
Oh, so funny.
Doggone it.
Oh, okay, we gotta stop.
Okay. So that brings into mind what technology integration is not. Because with the influx of all of this money and all of this technology, a lot of people got things that they weren't really fully prepared to use, and they're trying really hard to use technology, but using technology is not always the same as integrating technology. So how would you describe the difference?
The biggest knot is just giving kids a device and expecting them to know what to do, or giving them a simulation game that becomes the lesson.
Yeah.
The technology is never the lesson or the education. As a parent, what I've noticed with my own child is it's easy for him to say, well, I did this computer program, but it's hard for him to explain. I did number talks and I understand this. So as a parent, I've had to kind of step back and ask more probing questions, because he's saying the computer program names because that's easy for him to identify, where maybe he wasn't really identifying the other learning that was occurring. So
that's a good point.
Two words I like to try to strive for are seamless and organic. It should just be a natural extension of what you do in the classroom, and it shouldn't be necessarily a grand production. I mean, it should just work in naturally and seamlessly as much as you can. Not a big event, like, okay, now we're going to turn this on, kind of thing. It should just be part and parcel to the day.
It's not teaching a tool, it's using the tool to learn a skill. So when the
at a different level.
Exactly.
I think it's important, if they're gonna learn it the exact same way without the technology, maybe the technology isn't needed.
Yep. Which brings to mind then something that we've talked about, a couple different models for technology integration. One being the Stammer Model, which helps you to realize at what level you're putting technology in, whether you're using it just simply as a substitution or you're actually redefining what you're able to do because of the technology. Something it wasn't even possible before that is now possible because of the technology.
And I think it's important to know that there's value in each of those steps of the model, that it's okay to be working in the substitution level. Some people think they need to jump right up to redefining everything they do, which it takes steps, and it's a process. It can float between those different points.
And it varies with the kids.
Exactly.
Like I've noticed some of the R-ing or the redefinition I was doing last semester, my kids aren't ready for that. They need much more substitution and much more basic. So it depends on the kids as much as it does the teacher.
Yeah. I heard one of the teachers that we're going to meet in a minute talking about just because a student, let's say a kid who's a first grader, their life has never existed when there wasn't iPads or iOS devices. And so we can't make the assumption that just because they've been marinating in it all this time that they know how to use them.
For education.
Right. But a lot of people, and teachers in particular, do make that assumption. And so therefore we're afraid to integrate technology because we're afraid of what the kids know and how the kids may know more than we do. And so then that brings in that I'd rather not even go to the S stage of that, the supplementation stage of it, because I'm scared of what I don't know. So
I think the kids know less than we assume as teachers, honestly. Even my son, who hangs out with a big geek like me, there's a lot of educational things I'm like, what did you just do? That makes no sense. So I don't think that they know as much as we're assuming they do.
That's true. Or how to use it correctly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
Or how to actually use it for a purpose.
Right.
And then the other model is called the Tpac model, where you're taking not just the technology, but the pedagogy, so the philosophies behind what we teach, the content itself, and combining it with the technology to get kind of that sweet spot in the middle where those three things merge together in a more effective way. So when we're always aiming for the middle, then we get the richer lessons. So a couple of other teachers, and there's lots of them out there that I think we've seen and that we get to work with that are doing that in amazing ways, but we wanted to introduce a couple of them.
So one that I have the pleasure to work with in my TILT group, and I've been to her classroom, is Julie Schopp. And so she's just been really excited to add these different extra levels and things to what she's done.
Master's thesis on the technology integration in Billings Public Schools in 1990. And at that time, teachers were lucky if they had one Apple IIe in their classroom. And it was used usually by the teacher, rarely by the kids. If it was used by the kids, it was used as a game center or a math game or a reading game center or something like that.
Thank goodness times have changed. Take a trip to Newman Elementary School, where you will find an excited group of second graders and their equally excited teacher, Julie Schopp.
I'm Julie Schopp, and I teach second grade at Newman School, and this is my 20th year of teaching.
Having taught for many years in the district, Julie's career has been reinvigorated by, yep, you guessed it, technology. Julie's class is one of the few classrooms around the district that gets to take full advantage of all that technology has to offer through the use of one-to-one devices. The thing that makes Julie's class so unique is that this veteran teacher made it all happen through persistence, patience, and the creative use of philanthropy.
We have 8 Chromebooks and 2 on the way from Donors Choose. I have one-to-one iPads. A lot of them I had help from a friend of mine who donated money, and she bought a couple of iPads for me, and that's how I caught the iPad bug. And I was on a quest to get a class set in over a period of 2 years. She would donate a little bit of money. I would plug it into Donors Choose projects. And so my friend Donna and Donors Choose, I probably got maybe 15, 16 from there. And I got 3 of them from an Education Foundation grant last year. And a few of them I bought myself on Craigslist.
While some might shy away from the enthusiasm of second graders, Julie maintains a peaceful, well-organized classroom environment through careful planning and differentiation. Because of the data made available through the technology she integrates into her curriculum, she is able to hone in on the needs of her students and quickly address their needs.
I like when I can look at a score on a report and go, oh my gosh, that child needs me to pull them back to the table and work on this or that. And I have a lot of small group stuff going on for every subject. It's for writing, math, and reading. It used to be just reading groups. Now I'm having writing groups, I'm having math groups. Because my technology is helping me see where there's holes and I can fill them in.
So one might ask, how do you incorporate all of this technology into a classroom?
Well, we use iPads for things like MobiMax and extra math and some drill and practice things. We use it for writing, so today we're going to be drafting on paper, and they're going to be going to Google Docs first to write their paper and use the spell checker and the research tool to import a picture. And then they have the option of using the Chromebook or the iPad to copy their Google Doc, to select it, copy it, and paste it into their kid blog.
In order to develop these mathematicians, readers, and writers, Julie maintains a strong balance of both digital and analog experiences.
They have a blog of their own, and there's a lot of ownership in that because they get to do free blogging sometimes, and they get to, anything they want to publish that they write, here in my class, anything is up for publication on their blog. So they have, some of my kids have 15, 16 posts on their blog, and we've only been doing it for about a month, so that's pretty impressive.
While Julie has seen big changes over the course of her career, one thing remains the same. The students still want to learn.
Writing about our favorite restaurant, and my favorite restaurant is Texas Roadhouse, so I'm typing about Texas Roadhouse.
Let's see. So tell me, how did you start this project?
Well, if you go up here, how I got that, it
The reason
didn't.
I wanted to do it is because they're so excited to use any technology that it engages them. They don't say, how many pages do I have to write, Mrs. Schopp? They say, do we have to stop, Mrs. Schopp? Can we write again, Mrs. Schopp? And I'm like, oh, I've hooked them. They're hooked on it. So to me, it was a hook to get them interested in the writing process. They want to write all the time.
Thanks, Julie, for all you do to help create the future dreamers and leaders of Billings.
She was so excited when her students wrote more simply because they were typing it. She made the distinct observation that she was able to get more from them, you know, and higher quality when they were able to type their responses. She said, I would never have gotten this much from them, you know, on paper. And so they've been working with their D2 apps or their Google education accounts and even blogging and all kinds of things. They're just excited.
Which in itself is amazing to think that second graders, they're 7 years old, are blogging and have Google accounts, and they're using them effectively and responsibly and creating things like that couldn't have been done 10 years ago.
Or 5 years ago.
I'm going to take a picture of this and put it in my blog. Okay, you do that. You know,
honestly, even with, I would say, a year or two ago, there were, well, for sure teachers, but principals who were super reluctant to give students that young access to those tools because we weren't sure. We were kind of learning as we went along who was ready for it and who wasn't, and I think it's been really successful in some second grade classrooms. So way on up into high school. Have you met Brett?
Yep, we were both in the new senior high orientation together, so I have met Brett Nichols. He's great.
I didn't realize he was a brand new teacher.
Oh.
I had no idea, because the way that I found out about Brett Nichols was through Montana Ed Chat. He's faithfully on there every single week. He's always sharing and giving input and great ideas, asking questions. And so I thought, I got to meet him, because he sounds like he does a lot of things. And I went in there and he said, this is my first year in the classroom.
Yeah. Well, he worked in the business world, I think, for a long time.
Yeah,
so
and in the technology sector.
So we're so lucky to have him.
Absolutely.
To room 211 at Billings Senior High School, where the open windows may let in the sound of modern traffic rushing down Grand Avenue, but no one even seems to notice. Captivated by his stories of the past, the students in Mr. Brett Nichols' class are focused on only one thing: world history.
Brett Nichols, I teach sophomore world history, senior government, and senior sociology.
Oh yeah, Portugal's just weak.
As a first-year teacher, Brett speaks enthusiastically about a topic that has his students' mind racing. After all, it's their world.
Concert of Europe is going to be all these guys coming together. If you look on 6, 7...
Sure, it's old, sure, it's in the past, but Brett sees to it that this group is making connections to their lives today.
They're going to work in teams, and their team will have one mystery from somewhere in history that they have to research and present to the class.
I first met Brett during a Montana Ed Chat, a weekly Twitter discussion where educators from around the state gather every Tuesday night to discuss tips, tools, techniques, and tricks of the trade. Since Brett was an avid participant and contributor to this discussion, I felt sure he'd been doing this for years. Turns out, I was way off.
I'm new to teaching. This is my first... Well, history and teaching was my first love. I was in graduate school. I was working on towards a PhD in history. I was still in my master's program, but I was accepted into the PhD program at Stanford. So I decided to be a stay-at-home dad, or not a stay-at-home dad, but home with my kids. Grad students are never home. And got into the computer tech field and was there for about 13 years. And the tech market got a little rough in Billings. I got laid off 3 times. So I went back to my original love, teaching history. Got my teacher's certification at MSUB. Went back at 40. And so now I'm doing something I really enjoy.
It's going to be all these guys...
Equipped with a smartboard, his computer, and even a self-made app, Brett uses these tools to make the curriculum and the learning objectives come to life.
Then I've got, their calendar, links to Power School, valuable...
While history may be a thing of the past, Brett doesn't look at technology as a thing of the future. It's today. In fact, technology is actually part of Brett's past.
Before I was a computer tech, network engineer's assistant, and software specialist.
Although he is new to the teaching profession, Brett certainly has the right idea about what it means to successfully integrate technology.
Technology integration to me means that you are using technology in any possible way and it's not noticeable. I don't want the lesson to be about the technology. I want the technology to be about the lesson. So a lot of the things we do in here, like the app, like the final project I showed you, those are just tools to get them somewhere else and to help the learning. I want it to be more organic. I believe in reading heavily, so the final project takes into a lot of material they have to read in order to get going. So it's
So as a new teacher, trying to successfully integrate technology, Brett has really turned to his colleagues from around the state, country, and even world through Twitter.
And I can just throw a question out there on the Montana Ed Chat, and within half an hour I'll have 15 people answer. The first night I did it, I was welcomed. It was incredible, made some great connections. I got to meet a lot of fantastic people at MEA in Missoula who, people that I wouldn't have known but for Montana Ed Chat. And I've actually expanded a bit because I try to keep up on the latest in history, and I spent a lot of time perusing archaeology websites. It's been a tremendous experience and just so valuable. And like I said, the connections I've made, it's almost like half the state is my building.
Thanks, Brett, for staying up extra late on Tuesday nights, for sharing with the world through Twitter, and in turn, bringing the world of history to the students of Billings.
We came across a tool, I don't even remember how I stumbled across it. I think it was on Google Plus or something, but someone had shared a really interesting way to use a Google form, which that's probably one of the biggest technology integration. Easy to implement, easy to use, really effective feedback.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then what you can take and do with that. But I had never thought of using a form in this manner, where depending on what you answer, it branches off to a different page. And then depending on how you answer that question, it branches off to a different page. And so that opened my brain to like, whoa, you could do like a choose your own adventure style, not just a form where you're getting answers and based on what you pick, you're going to come out with an outcome, but kind of within the form itself. And so someone designed a form that will help you to kind of narrow down depending on what the focus is of your task.
My name is Krista Murphy, and I'm a computer technician. I came from the medical corridor. I've been bouncing around down there for about 5+ years, and I've had a lot of years doing graphics and internet development, and so my last job was land administrator, and so here I am. Just different, platforms and expectations within each classroom, and going around teachers and kids' schedules, and it's just all good. I guess just the amount of iPads that we use in the district is pretty crazy, but it's all for good. I'm impressed with what they're doing at Lewis & Clark, and I know it's probably some of the old software that they have in Tech Ed, but they're doing, emulsion, propulsion, and, different presentations with some of the software they're using, and it's pretty cool with what they're doing. My younger two are at Poly, but they're loving, the labs. The labs is where it's at. I think the teachers are doing a great job, and I guess as a tech, we're just trying to allow that technology to be there, and I guess help it be there to educate the kids. I guess, I don't want my kid waiting for somebody to come in and fix something to get their education, so when a help desk ticket comes in, and if I'm given the opportunity to do something, I try to do it right away and get it done so they can educate and get the kids moving. Our Casper software that we have that controls a lot of the Apple platforms is really cool. Yeah, so I look forward to diving into more of that, and just, I guess, being able to get my feet wet. I think it's pretty cool. Just the whole process is really streamlined, and it makes it simpler. everybody's been gracious and kind, and you know, I really enjoy working for the district.
What's coming up? What's on the horizon?
Kind of wrapping up the tilt year. It's kind of sad, a little bittersweet working with these groups this year and realizing that we are finishing up our year here pretty soon, and then doing some Promethean training with some brand new users and some more experienced users. So fun to kind of show them and get that refresher again. So yeah.
And you just finished a Mac basics
I
class
did.
this week.
Great group to work with. A lot of things our Macs can do and our computers can do that we don't always realize. You know, there's a lot of little time savers and tips and tricks that we'd be happy to share with all of you to help you use your Mac to its fullest potential.
Or whatever computer.
Whatever
you're
device,
using.
we'd like to help you get the most out of it.
Yeah. And what about you, Miss Busybody? You always
Oh,
have.
same kind tilt again. Anne and I are going to be presenting at the Missoula Google Fest, which is on a Saturday, so we would love it if some Billings teachers could make it over. It should be really great. And Wired Wednesdays are still happening this summer. We will have a coding club through the MSUB camps. The location will be on MSUB's campus, so that'll be pretty exciting for kids, and then also some other camps on financial literacy. So
Awesome. The college is a great resource for
It
us. We have
is.
2 colleges right here, so
Yeah.
things that you can be taking and doing.
right, and there are going to be over 40 hours of technology professional development through MSUB this summer, so
Yeah,
we're
so
looking for those.
Watch for those. We've got the tech fair coming up very soon.
Yeah.
We put a call out there, opened it up to the district, and we have now 39 people, different people who are willing to present something. So awesome to those people who are willing
And
to
I
share
have a
what they're doing.
prize that will be given away to presenters.
What is it?
Well, at least one registration to the Cody Google Summit. At least one, but you have to present to be in the drawing, so.
And it's a 30-minute presentation. 30 minutes, really? Yeah. All you have time to do there is introduce yourself, tell what you're going to talk about it a little, and ask for questions, and it's over. So that's coming up. We'll have the schedule out for that soon. So for those of you who are going to be attending, you'll be able to start planning kind of what you want to see. But huge thanks to the people who are planning it and also willing to present. But we also should thank Heather Lambert, Master Technology Integrator, for hosting us in her adorable classroom here today.
So next time we'll talk about kind of getting our digital lives in order and some spring cleaning types of tools and skills to help you manage your digital life.
Do you do real life spring cleaning?
I do.
I could use some. I could
Come
also
on
use a
over,
cupcake.
Charles.
I know, I'm kind of craving a cupcake now.
Let's go.